Hi, it's Mike. Welcome to the Bonsai channel. Today I'm going to wire this Japanese maple, which is what our friend Douglas Toussaint was talking about how it's easier to see the structure of the tree in the wintertime, and that is actually a really good time to wire it. So I want to show you what we have first. That's why I'm wearing white, and I also have this little poster board. So hopefully you can see the structure of the tree. It's an informal upright, obviously. It's leaning to this side, which I like that. And it looks more like the Japanese maples that you see in, the landscape, ornamental Japanese maples. But this side, this back side, has very little limbs. So I'm going to wire it. But the thing to remember is, for me, I like to take it slow. I like to do a little here and a little there. So I'm not going to fully wire the whole thing all the way to the tips of every little branch. But I want to get a general shape right now, because I have to figure out what I'm going to do with this piece. If you look closely here, one of the reasons I got this tree, or I chose this tree, was because it was broken off here, which made the trunk thicken up, and this branch had bent over. And you notice that the ones that have been kind of mistreated look interesting. And that's why I chose this tree. But how am I going to fix that? Or should I even? Well, that's a question that I might leave for next year, so I can deliberate on it some. But I know what I need to do right now, and that is I need to take off these lower limbs. I need to see if I can get some shape out of this trunk that's a little different without having to use branch benders. And I want to start to train these branches, just to mess with them a little bit to see if I can get them to look a little better. So the first thing I want to do is to take off these lower branches. So I'm going to grab my concave cutter. And let's do it so you can see it here. What I want to do is to cut into the branch, into the trunk, just enough to cut the branch out, but also leave room for the scar to heal so that it heals flush. Similar to one that someone else had done before. So take the concave cutter right into the knob and cut it off. Now let's do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so that's what I have. Alright, so now I'll move on to the trunk. Because this trunk is so thick, I'm going to need a thick wire to bend it. And hopefully this is thick enough. But this is a 5mm wire. And what I want to do is to insert the wire into the soil right by, there we go, to stabilize the wire in the soil. And I'm going to start wrapping above the graft. So and using this much wire on the tree, a trunk this size, Makes it easier because you have leverage, but also harder because you have to go through the limbs. Alright, I want to make sure I'm not cutting off any sites where there would be nodes of branches. Casualty. But there'll be something growing there next year.
In the spring.
I'm about to bridge this saddle right here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and cut the wire and then just manhandle it. So I want to bring this wire up through, there we go. Just like that. I'm going to leave that there, but now that we have the wire on, let's see if we can get some shape out of the branch. A little bit. This one's going to take some repeated bending. Okay, but it's a little different, a little more pleasing. And you know, I tried with the 5mm, the thickest I have. It might take branch benders, especially if I let it go like next year. I definitely need branch benders. So now let's wire these other little branches. So now I want to wire this lower branch, and I have to get the wire on there and around the current wire. So there's a couple ways of doing it. The first way is, if you can see against my shirt, I can wrap it around like that, wrap it around the trunk, and then wrap this around the branch, and that would hold it. The other way I can do it is just to follow the trunk, you know, follow the trunk here, the wrap that I already have, and wrap right along beside it. And that will secure it to the trunk, and then also I can secure it easily to the branch, just like that. There we go. Now this is 2mm wire I'm using there. So, and I'll adjust this more later, but I want this branch to come back this way more. So now this was 2mm wire. I might be able to get away with that on this one, but I won't be able to on these two. So these are going to take a thicker gauge wire. Let's start with the thickest. Let's do this one next. So now I want to wire the upper branch. The problem with the upper branch is that it's already set. It's like really thick. But down here it's not so much. So what I need to do is to stagger or what I like to do anyway, is to stagger the wire gauge. So here I'm going to use 4mm on this branch. I used 5 on the trunk. I want to use 4mm here, and then I'm going to bring in 3 or 2mm down here. Wired. So the thing is, can I get the wire in there? It looks like I can't. So I'm going to have to do what I said before and bend this around.
Before I do it.
Now, I'm about to wire this upper branch, but there's some, things I'm looking at here, like, do I need this branch? Do I need this branch? And these two? Do I need all these branches? Usually what you would do is to clip out, like for instance right here, if you can see that. If there were any branches in here, you would definitely take them out. Right here there's 2 branches. Well, there doesn't need to be 2 right there, so we know that we can take that one out. So let me get my concave cutters and take, hopefully you can see here I have one that's going away from the branch, from this main branch, and I have one that's kind of following over top of that branch. So I'd like to keep the one that's going away and cut the one that's on top. That's what I want to do right now for this specific situation. Here I have a branch going in this direction, and at the same node I have a branch coming off the other direction. Now that might work, but I also have this branch here, and I'd like to leave this branch so that on every other node I have a branch going in a different direction. So I'm going to cut this one. I'm going to leave this one because when it leaves out it can cover this and it won't look like the branch is so long until you get to any kind of foliage. So I'm going to leave that for next year. But I may decide that I want to take this out. But I'll leave that decision for next year. And that's what I'm talking about when I say I like to take it slow. Some things I just can't make a decision on, so I think about it for a year. And there's no rush because I want this tree to live, 60, 100 years. And I want to keep working on it. There's no rushing in bonsai because you want to keep the tree alive. So, let's see. And here I'm faced with another node issue. So I want to be careful about going over top of it. And so, see, it becomes obvious, I don't want to follow this branch out. I'm going to follow this branch out. So that's where I'm going to continue to wire. Just making sure I'm not wrapping over top of any potential new growth. Like that. You have to be careful right there. And I had to tighten the spiral, you know, the twisting a little bit to miss this node so that I could wrap it on a place where it's not going to produce a bug. And here, and just lay it over that and then wrap it this way. And when you get into these young growths, I mean, if they need wiring at all, which they usually don't, but you just kind of be loose with it. Actually, I'm going to do this one. Alright, so now that I got the main one done, I'm going to start here and work down. So here, let's see, how am I going to start this? Alright, so what I'm going to do is to get it so that you can see it, is to start the wire back here, right? See? Then wrap it up, over, and across. So it's solid on the main branch. And now I'm coming into the side branch. Now here's a node. You can tell by the little ridge. Alright, so I want to miss that. Find a spot where it's flat, like, see how it's flatter there than it is right there. So there's one on the other side as well, and that's what I'm making use of. Just like that. There's two nodes, one on each side, and a flat spot in the middle. Go right over the flat spot. So there's that. So what I'm going to do is just continue on through that branch, and then I'll come back and show you. No sense in you watching the whole thing. I wanted to show you right here. First off, I've never been known for my beautiful wiring, but it gets the job done. I've seen some people just have immaculate spirals and it's tight and everything's beautiful, but mine always turns out the same, and I'm going to take it off in 6-8 months anyway. Right here I have a branch that I want to start wiring, but I have no place now to put the wire. I can't do the spiral, it goes against my spiral. So what can I do? Well, it just happens to be a space right there where I can slide some wire in, and if I wire against that, right, then I can wire this branch like so. So this is why my wiring is more ugly, but I'm just looking for, is it braced? Can I bend the branch out without making it separate from the trunk? I'm really just trying to be effective and not beautiful with the wiring. I wanted to show you here too, because of the stiffness of the wire and everything, it was hard to miss this little node and affect this branch, so I pushed it out and gave it space to grow. So that's a technique as well. When you can't miss a node, sometimes you just have to loop higher. Alright, well, hopefully you can see that it's all wired. And now I'm going to start bending it and shaping it the way I want it to be, or the way it wants to let's start at the bottom here. So this one, what I'm doing is giving it a curve, like an S, but I'm not only doing it that way, I'm also doing it from the side. You can see that way. So it goes down and up, like that. You can even twist the branches to get these branches more on top, like that. And be careful not to break the branches, like I just did. See, older trees look gnarled, and that means that the branches go in many different directions. So what I'm trying to do is simulate that by having it go up and down, kind of in several different directions simultaneously. And again, be careful where you press. So, I've really finished doing all I can to it right now. Now I'll be honest, I haven't decided what to do with these two branches. I just haven't decided. But the good thing is that I don't have to decide now. There's plenty of time. And this tree can you know, will be beautiful this year and every year to come. But this is what I've done for right now. And again, hopefully you can see it, these kind of sinewy angles, the curves. I'm trying to make pads out of the leaf areas, you know, to expand them out and to make pads with it. But I want to make it look as old as possible by manipulating the angles and the shapes of the branches. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it, and I hope that you've learned something. See you soon.